What's good, my people? Welcome into Buckets, Action Network's daily NBA betting podcast. We're in a workshop Thursday, NBA slate, and I got a couple of the guys with me, the sharpest guys on planet Earth. AC, the analytics capper, Albert Nguyen, and I got Michael Fiddle, Fiddle's Picks. I am your host, Sean Little, recording this live from our Tommy John home studios. Go get some of the stuff, man. They support us. Their product is actually good. I'm wearing some of the underwear right now. I know I say that damn near every episode, every week, but I got a bunch of pairs. That's what I'm rocking right now, Tommy John. So go get some. The pajamas are also really good. We got a 9-game slate here on a Thursday. 7 teams on a back-to-back. Hawks on a back-to-back. Mavs, Thunder, Kings, Warriors, Clippers, Celtics with no travel. They have the Clippers and then the Lakers. So it's an interesting slate. You know how we do. We give you the cap. We give the play, we give you the cap, we get you guys out of here. Go download the Action Network app ASAP. Go subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. AC, the Analytics Capper, give me your best bet for the Thursday NBA slate.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on. I've hit 6 straight NBA bets, Sean, 9 out of the last 10, so it's been hot here. I'm going to go with 2 tomorrow night. I think Myles Turner over 1.5 3-pointers made, and then I'm going to be on the Thunder first half against the Mavericks. It's most likely going to be around -6, -6.5.
Always good to hear when one of the boys is cruising out of bounce back night. Could have been 2-0. Detroit Pistons took care of business, but we move on with Kyrie knocking down the late jumper. Fiddle Picks, give me your best bet for the Thursday NBA slate.
I'm going over to Paris. Give me the over 229.5 Pacers-Spurs.
Oui. I guess AC went over to Paris as well. That'll be a fun one, man. It's always fun to get a little midweek daytime hoops. I like that. We'll break it all down. I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Hawks team total over 121.5. I mentioned not wanting to back the Atlanta Hawks when they're a favorite. That's why I'm focused here on the team total. We'll break it all down. All right, both of these boys are across the pond in Paris, going to talk Spurs-Pacers. Fiddle, I'm going to come back to you first. We'll cap the total here, and then we'll come back with the correlation on AC and Myles Turner. Unfamiliar territory. If you've been online, you see all the boys are at the fashion shows. Wemby was at Louis Vuitton. Chris Paul was at Louis Vuitton. The boys are hanging out. Wemby was at the PSG Man City Champions League game. There's a lot of festivities going around this basketball game. I'm interested to hear the cap because for me, in something like this spot, the basketball game feels very, very secondary. Let's promote the NBA and basketball. And I guess we'll play a game before we get out of here. Fiddle, talk to me about the total.
I just think if this game were played in the continental U.S., we'd be seeing a total that's 5 points higher. And I think that the neutral site is way too baked into this price. Pacers have been one of the top 5 teams in the NBA over the last month or so. Spurs are playing at like record pace for them. They're upping their total possessions. Wemby is shooting a majority of his shots from 3-point range. So really the Pacers have rounded into form. The Spurs are becoming a much more offensively focused team. The pace for both teams has been rising. So we saw some early season woes for the Pacers. Now they're rounding into that Rick Carlisle offense. And I think his name is Mitch Johnson, the guy who's taking over for Popovich over there, is doing a great job. He's got those guys running up and down too. So whether that's Keldon Johnson coming off the bench or Stephon Castle, lighting up from 3 and pushing the ball in transition, and then Wemby coming up and shooting 9 to 10 threes per game. I'm trying to figure out how the market is changing for Victor Wembanyama, because I no longer think he's the massive underplayer that he used to be. I no longer think he's a massively just defensive force, because the pace and the shot selection on offense are really creating boom scoring. So the Pacers AC is going to talk about Myles Turner threes. That's the perfect combination you need to pull away Wemby from the rim or to, get some scoring against them and not have everything be at the rim against the Spurs. So I think the Pacers have the pieces to get the job done. I think they're well rested. And then the last thing that I want to say is that this is a 2 p.m. Eastern tip-off game. We generally associate day games with unders. It's always Bet your unders for day games. Get ready for, the NBA to take over Sundays with a 1:30 and a 3:30 start, and get ready to hit some opening line unders for that. This is 8 p.m. in Paris. This is on 3 days rest for both teams going over there. So I have no concern about, an early viewing time for us here is not what it is in reality over there.
4 straight games to the over for the San Antonio Spurs, and they've been hefty numbers. We have a 240 on here versus Memphis. That went over 236.5 against that same Memphis team where they lost back-to-back at home. That went over. They played Miami. Modest 220 on the total, but they let Miami score 128 points in that game. That went over. Then they played the Lakers, who they beat and put up 126 on their head. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's the distractions and everything else going around feels like an open, free-flowing game to me. And that's exactly the type of game that Wemby seemingly wants to play. I think if the more we get into his career and his second year in the league, he's kind of imprinting and approaching the game how he wants instead of maybe how other people think he should be playing, or maybe him getting additional direction. But it's clear to me that he wants to play away from the basket, front facing, and then impact on the defensive end around the rim as much as possible. But when it comes to offense, he's trying to put the ball in the hole, and it has nothing to do with his back being to the basket. AC, talk to me about the total, and then talk to me about Myles Turner.
Yeah, let's talk about all the extracurricular activities that you mentioned, Sean, right? They're going to soccer games. They're going to fashion shows. They're hanging out in Paris, one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world. Basketball might be secondary, but we do know when it is potentially secondary, the thing that's going to drop off is not running, gunning, getting out on the fast break, dunking, shooting threes. That's not dropping off. What's dropping off is actually caring about defense. So I think the overlook here looks really good in my opinion. And on that note, I do like to back Myles Turner, right? He's over 1.5 threes is a little juicy at DraftKings right now, minus 130. Some outlets have it at 135. I think it's okay to drink the juice here. He is a guy that's only hit less than 2 threes twice the entire month. So I think 8 out of 10 games he's hit over 3, including 2 games ago where he was 8 for 11 on threes. I think he's going to get ample opportunity because we know how Wemby, we talked about this offline, he's an alien, both on offense and on defense. And the way that they deploy him on defense is more of a rover, more of a floater around so that he can protect the basket because he's still so agile, but also try to get out on the shooters as well. I think he's going to give enough room for Myles Turner, especially on the pick and roll with Tyrese, to get at least 4, 5, 6 attempts up. And the way that he's shooting right now, I think he can easily make 2. So I like the over Myles Turner look, which is correlated with Fiddle's over, on the total game, because I think this is a game where if you're on Prize Picks, if you're on player props, like you're just gonna go overs or you're gonna ladder overs, and it's gonna make you look really smart, even though everybody's predicting the game to go over.
Yeah, it might be even one of those situations, fellas. The more I think about it, it's like, let's put on a show in Paris. Putting on a show is not strapping up on D.
Yeah, not in 2025. Yeah, not in 2025.
That is for sure. Putting on a show for their people and Wemby and his people over there in France is definitely not slow slugging, strapping up on defense style of play. So yeah, the more I think about it, with as Fiddle mentioned, who's always sharp on the market, that if this was in the continental United States, it'd be around 5 points higher than it is right now. I think that's even more of a reason to back the over in this spot. Also, for Myles Turner, there was a period where I heard Tyrese Halliburton's name and I heard hamstring, and I was like, oh no, he's going to be out and missing for quite a stretch. It's not the case. It's not the case. Halliburton's back. He's in Paris kicking it with his lady. He's got his lady out there. He's gallivanting. He's enjoying himself. So he's back in there. Sohan is questionable. Keep an eye on that. If he doesn't play, that of course helps the the total to the over as well because he brings defense when he does come to the floor. I like that play. That'll be a fun watch here tomorrow afternoon. Make sure you tune in. Game is on NBA TV. All right, let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. Oh, you got the second play. My fault, AC. Let's get into that
fine.
before I get into that team total. Oklahoma City Thunder messed with their food tonight. Woke up in the second half late and we're like, okay, let's go ahead and close this game out, win it by 8-9 points. That's exactly what they did. Dallas Mavericks come off a very interesting game. I watched that front to back along with the Cavs and the Rockets. Those were my two games on each screen. And then I would bounce back and forth to the multi-view. But interesting game. PJ Washington played really well. Kyrie filled it up. I still think Minnesota's a really bad matchup overall for them. They struggled to really get going, and that was on top of Anthony Edwards having his worst shooting performance of the month. He was shooting it poorly from the floor, and they still weren't able to get the W. How much of that and them coming off the back-to-back and a grind against Minnesota has you back in the Thunder here in the first half?
Yeah, the fact that both teams don't really have a rest advantage or disadvantage, the travel here is minimal. OKC to Dallas is like a 3.5-hour drive, which is a 45-minute flight. So it's nothing, right? And then we know these two teams, I was in the building last Friday. They just played in Dallas, actually. And Dallas somehow beat OKC. There was no Shea, there was no Luka, there was no, Lively, all those guys. But PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes showed up and was able to beat OKC. OKC is a team that's going to care about that. They're going to go back into this building and take care of business. I like the first half actually more than the full game in this respect. So I like OKC to come out, and I think with Shea back in the fold, I think they're just going to dominate Dallas. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas, because they just came off a really grinder of a game against Minnesota, to potentially sit Kyrie. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, but this is a game where I don't think they expect to win. So I wouldn't be surprised if they start sitting some stars. So I think you get potential CLV in the end. Even if you don't, I think OKC would take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, and Thunder had a relatively easy game, you can call it that, I think, against the Utah Jazz. Like I said, they turned it up in the second half and were able to close it out. Fiddle, how do you feel about the back-to-back spot? How do you read the back-to-back spot when it comes, I guess, when there's so many on the sheet in the market on a Thursday? As I mentioned, 7 teams are going to be on back-to-backs here. One thing about the Oklahoma City Thunder, every time this year I thought it would be a good spot to fade them. Oh, the Thunder have played 5 and 7. Doesn't matter. They show up and they play like they're coming off 2 full days of rest. Talk to me about Thunder in the first half and then just overall your perception on back-to-backs with so many tonight.
Thunder in the first half, right before we started the show, AC said to us, he's like, guys, this is a strong spot. So you wouldn't catch me dead going against like a strong opinion from him. I will ride it. He's being generous to us to say 6.5 when the spread is where it is, because we don't have a first half line yet. So he's baking in some extra room to still play that number. So I mean, I completely agree. I was just watching the Wolves-Mavericks game, and the Mavericks are on this second set of a back-to-back where now it's a light travel, but they go on the road on this one. And they had a dogfight till the end. They were coming back in late against the Timberwolves, and then, Kyrie hits that dagger shot to people covering the spread. But Mavericks lose by 1 in kind of a terrible fashion. We have Lively taking news that he's going to miss some time. Sometimes we see bumps with team in the first game that they're missing a player after a news break like that. I understand Lively's been missing some time prior to this, and we got the update that he's going to miss some extended time, but that's going to cue everyone in the locker room of like, all right, tonight, extra focus, extra try hard, my role a little bit more in the prime time scene, going against 3 good bigs on the Minnesota side. So now I expect a little bit of regression for these Mavericks guys, and then let's use that to talk about how we feel about back-to-backs. It's so dependent on the team. There are certain teams that I don't overreact to back-to-back situations for. There are certain teams like Boston goes on a back-to-back tonight, having the two LA teams, Clippers tonight, and then as we're recording this, and then Lakers tomorrow night when this episode comes out. we already know it's like Horford and Porzingis are going to switch off days, or they're going to miss one. The other one's going to play. Maybe you get Derek White or Drew Holiday popping up questionable, or Jaylen Brown pop up questionable, but they'll stagger the guys and they'll end up playing. Team like the Atlanta Hawks drops their injury reports really early because they've been, Sean, you're about to talk about some Hawks stuff. They're gonna let you know their injury report right around shoot around because they've been fined 6 figures this year for messing around with the injury report. So now they're like throwing their hands up and like, all right, we'll release this at shoot around and do it the right way. So it's totally dependent on every team. When you look at these two teams that AC's backing first half, Thunder are a team you can back. Mavericks are a team you want to fade on the second half of the back-to-back because you're asking them, all these players, to do such heavy lifting on a shortened rotation with all the injuries 2 nights in a row. It's a really tough spot for Dallas.
Dallas has been struggling to get a win, but their last win was against the Thunder, as AC mentioned. My biggest problem with Dallas and this matchup is so many of their buckets are coming from the backcourt, and that's where the Oklahoma City Thunder they love that. You guys want to play on the perimeter against us on a possession-to-possession basis? No problem. We're not worried about Gafford scoring a bunch of points. PJ is versatile where he could score, but I think they're going to have a really hard time putting up enough points to keep up with OKC. Hopefully, they can start off slow in that first half and they come out with even some of that revenge angle portion of them taking a loss last time they were out, only scoring 98 points, missing a couple of the top guys. But still, I think with SGA back in the fold, keep an eye on the injury report, of course, but when a vast majority of your points are coming from the backcourt, I'm never going to like your matchup against the one of the best perimeter defensive teams I've seen in quite some time in the Oklahoma City Thunder. So yeah, let's cash that first half ticket. All right, let's go to Atlanta. Team total over 121.5 is what I'm seeing in the market, minus 110. They're playing the Toronto Raptors. Now, I was on the live stream yesterday. I had Detroit. I gave out Detroit plus 2.5. They end up closing plus 4.5. So money line cashes, 2.5 cashes, whatever. It went against me. But either way, Detroit gets the W. The Atlanta Hawks are a really good team as playing the underdog role. They get up for these massive games versus the Boston Celtics. They beat them twice. They've beaten the Cavs on the road, the Knicks on the road. They get up for these big-time games where they have motivation, per se. It's on national television, or they see themselves on this upper echelon with those guys, but they don't take the rest of the league seriously. On a Tuesday at home against the Pistons, I'm always going to back the Pistons, especially how grit and grimy they can get and how well they've been playing overall. It's a very similar situation here with the Toronto Raptors. Toronto, first of all, home road splits are insane when it comes to defense. The Toronto Raptors, when they go on the road, their defensive rating balloons from 113.5 at home to 121.3 on the road. Net rating goes from negative 3.3 to 11.1. Similarly to how I don't want to back the Atlanta Hawks as a dog or as a favorite against a middling team, I don't want anything to do with the Toronto Raptors away from Scotiabank above the border. They play a lot better there. They're profitable against the spread. And then when we talk about the Atlanta Hawks, they've just been an over team, especially in their building all year long. 14-5 as home teams to the over. They're just going to put up a big number. They're top 3 in pace, the Atlanta Hawks. The Raptors are 12th in pace. They get up and down as well. So if Atlanta's going to push the pace, the Raptors have no qualms trying to match that. I think it's an wide open offensive game for Atlanta. They're coming off a couple losses too. The Raptors on the road is just what the doctor ordered. I think they try to hang a big number, get a W at home here in their building, even though there's no real home court advantage there. But they took a bad loss. They got beat up by Detroit. I think they bounced back. I'm not going to lay the number, which it's going to be. I think it's going to end up closing, pushing double digits. But I will lay the team total. I think they put up 124, 125 here in this spot. AC, any thoughts on the Hawks, the Raptors, away from Scotia? Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great situational spot. Toronto's coming off a game where the under hit. Atlanta's coming off a game tonight, obviously, where the under hit. Listen to this shooting from Atlanta tonight. Jalen Johnson, 0 for 6 from 3. Dyson Daniels, 0 for 5 from 3. Bogdan, 0 for 4 from 3.
He's been brutal, by the way.
DeAndre Hunter, 0 for 9 from 3. So combined, they were basically 0 for 25 from 3 out of those 4 guys. You expect a little regression. You expect more threes to be shot tomorrow night. I think they ended up, they were 6 for 38 total as a team for 15%. So you hit half of those, and you'll hit the over pretty easily. And Sean hit it right on the nose. The pace is going to be high, although the Hawks are known not to have a home court advantage. I think they're going to have one tomorrow night. Toronto is going in for one night and then leaving the very next night for a game, I think, in New Orleans. So this is a game where I don't even think they're really truly focused with. So I like the look. If I were to play it, I would probably play the team total as well. I wouldn't touch the spread with the Hawks.
Bogdan Bogdanović, before I kick it to you, Fiddle, is 4 for his last 29 from deep over his last 5 games. He has been awful. The minutes are starting to tick down as well. He only played 19 versus the Pistons tonight, or last night, I should say, as we record this on Wednesday night. And then he played 15 against the Knicks on the road. So the minutes are coming down there. Bogdan has been struggling a bit. But yeah, I agree with everything you said, AC. I think this is a good spot for the Hawks to put up some points. Fiddle, any thoughts?
Both of these teams play so much in transition, and with AC talking about the shooting splits from tonight, I would think it's probably a pretty good spot. The one thing that would scare me off of this, Sean, is that the total opened for this game at 241. And now it's all the way down to 233.5. So to see 8 points of line movement towards the under doesn't make me want to go running back any sort of over in this game. But if the flip side of that is saying now you're getting it at the best possible price, you could for the Hawks, right? You could say that from either of two directions. Generally, when I go opinion against the market, I just make it a smaller position.
Well said. Great point to bring up. Toronto on no rest, 5-3 to the over as well. So we'll see how it shakes out. On the team total, the Hawks at home are 11-7 to the over. So there's a couple bullet points, a couple trends pointing that way. I think coming off 2 losses against a team that's going to want to run with them, which they will welcome. I think they can put up a big number. I'll go over the team total 121.5 for the Atlanta Hawks. We mentioned at the top of the show that we're coming to you live from our Tommy John home studios, and that's because great games start with great underwear, and Tommy John makes the greatest. As I mentioned off the top, I have a lot of the merchandise. I'm wearing some of the underwear right now. I've been wearing them every day. It's the only underwear I have, actually, at the moment. And they're real deal business. They're good. They're comfortable. The pajamas are comfortable. The undershirts are comfortable. They sent me some stuff. I tested it out. It worked on me. I bought some of my own. So go check out the Tommy John stuff. Remember, when you're truly comfortable, you do everything better, and that includes betting. So if you love the Buckets podcast, if you love this crew, AC, the analyst, Capper, Michael Fiddle, Sean Little, you'll love Tommy John. Get 25% off your first order now at TommyJohn.com/buckets. That's 25% off at TommyJohn.com/buckets. And since we're talking Tommy John, let's get into the Tommy John Big Ballsy Parlay. We're not big parlay bettors here.
We hit it last week on the show, though. We hit it last week.
We did. We hit it on the show. This trio has been putting together some winners for the people. Let's try to keep going. Let's go Spurs-Pacers over 229. Myles Turner 2+ triples. Hawks team total over 121.5 is coming in where I'm looking at plus 450. Of course, shop around. Even your parlays, your singles, of course, shop around. But even your parlays, anything you're putting together, put it together in a couple spots and then take the best number and try to make as much money as you can. To recap, Michael Fiddle, Spurs, Pacers, over 229 in Paris, oui. AC, the analyst, Capper, Myles Turner, over 1.5 triples, minus 130, oui. Thunder, first half, minus 6.5. And I am on the team total, Atlanta Hawks, over 121.5. For AC the Analyst Capper, for Michael Fiddle, I am your host, Sean Little. Go subscribe to the Action Network. Yes, talk to me.
Can we repeat that and say Thunder minus 6.5 first half, boom, boom. And then Hawks.
Boom, boom.
Hawks team total over caw-caw.
Oh, caw-caw. Oh, oh. Shout out to Big Diesel Shack over there at Turner. Yeah. So, what is it? You say boom, boom. Isn't the Pacers hashtag like boom, boom baby or something?
I don't know, but the wee I thought was phenomenal, and so all I know is that when I hear some thunder in my apartment, it's boom boom.
Yeah, boom boom. All right, yeah, go. I think I'm pretty sure the Pacers hashtag is boom baby, so I don't want to cross it up. But yes, I feel you, Michael Fiddle. For Mike Fiddle, for AC the Analyst Capper, I am your host, Sean Little. Go subscribe to everything Action Network. Big NFC, AFC championship coming up. Brandon Anderson and the gang, Sean Kerner, Chris Raybon, Stuckey, all those guys are putting together tons of stuff on the football side. We, of course, take care of all the hoops. Matt Moore, Joe Delera, the rest of the game. Stay locked, Action Network. Until next time, which is tomorrow, let's get buckets, baby.